serve you. And if you want to give me a benediction, then please deliver all these fools and rascals within this world. The Lord called upon Haridas Thakur. And as he was sitting on his seat on the altar, he manifested his opulences in the form of Krishna to Haridas. And such a beautiful exchange. Lord Chaitanya was glorifying Haridas as if he had thousands of mouths. In his glorification of Haridas, Vrindavan Das Thakur tells that there's no limits to the happiness that Lord Chaitanya experiences when he speaks the qualities of his devotees. And how dear every one of us is to the Lord when he hears us speaking the qualities of his devotees. Vrindavan Das Thakur, the Veda Vyas of Mahaprabhu's Leela, he said, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is willing to swallow mass fire for the pleasure of his devotees. He considers everything within the universe to have no value compared to a single devotee. And Haridas Thakur, there's no record that he ever went to school. He was an outcast by social standards, considered untouchable by orthodoxy. But Lord Chaitanya and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, although practically everywhere Thakur Haridas went, he was persecuted, he was condemned, he was criticized. So many references are given of how he was tried. They tried to imprison him, they tried to kill him. But he was everyone's well-wisher. During Mahaprakash, Lord Chaitanya said, do you remember, Haridas, before I even descended into this world, you were being beaten to death by those executioners? At that time, from Vaikuntha, with my Sudarshan Chakra, I decided to come and kill those people. But you were praying sincerely from your heart, my Lord, please forgive them. Give them your mercy. If I've ever pleased you with my chanting of the holy names, then let all those credits be exchanged for forgiving these men. They shouldn't suffer because of me. Lord Chaitanya said, your prayer for forgiveness was so powerful that my chakra, it couldn't function. Durvasa Muni, he had all 8 mystic cities in great proportions. He was such a vairagi, so renounced from everything of this world. But he couldn't escape from that chakra. But the chakra was defeated by Haridas Thakur's humble prayer of forgiveness. So the Lord said, I had to come down and cover your body with mine to protect you. And then the Lord showed him the bruises and the scars that were meant for Haridas on his own body. Lord Chaitanya asked Haridas, ask for any benediction. I want to fulfill your every desire. Each and every one of these devotees, their benediction was really in essence to truly be the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Haridas said, let me always be with your devotees as their servant. In every birth I may take, let me get the food remnants of your devotee. After your devotee eats and they throw out the remnants, give me the blessing that I could be a dog living close by so I could eat those remnants and honor your devotees. If Krishna were to come before you and ask you any benediction you like, could you ask for that? But he was serious. That's how much he valued those who love Krishna, those who are trying to love Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya was revealing to him what pleases him. Lord Chaitanya was so moved, he said, I give the benediction to you because you're so kind, you're so compassionate. You want to deliver everyone, that whoever for all time to come has faith in you and remembers you in faith, they will attain me. From Mukunda Dat, Lord Chaitanya, he asked him to take a benediction, but all he could do was express his humility with beautiful prayers. And Lord Chaitanya said, forever, you will give joy to the hearts of the devotees whenever you chant the holy names. So the Mahaprakash was like Govardhan Leela. Krishna was reciprocating intimately and offering the sweetest benedictions to each and every one of his devotees. And in doing so, he taught us what we should truly aspire for. Today, I believe it was about 5 o'clock in the morning, a very dear devotee departed from this world. Those of you who reside in India, you may know him very dearly, and others may have heard about him. Gaur Krishna Goswami Maharaj. He's a grand disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, a very dearmost disciple of His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj. Gaur Krishna Prabhu, he accepted Srila Prabhupada and his Guru as his life and soul. And Radha Govinda Maharaj traveled from village to village. This is many years ago. He would just go one little village in Bihar to another and have kirtan and Bhagavad Katha. Krsna Maharaj, who was brahmachari at the time, was just helping him with the organization. Going ahead to the villages and making the arrangements and getting the venue. He was just doing the very physical, material organization for his guru to come and speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. But by hearing from his guru, he got such a higher taste. And even though he didn't ask, his Guru Maharaj told him, now you should speak from Srimad Bhagavatam. And he went so deeply into Srimad Bhagavatam. But please understand that his qualification wasn't just being a scholar, wasn't prophet adoration distinction, which is often motivations even for devotees. He didn't want followers. He was just doing very menial service for years. And then he was blessed to speak from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he loved the Srimad Bhagavatam. He gave such beautiful narrations in the Hindi language. This morning I went to offer my respects, my love, my gratitude, my heart to such a Vaishnav. And I drove in the car with His Grace Radhe Shyam Prabhu, Shamananda Prabhu. And the whole time we were driving, Radhe Shyam Prabhu was speaking to me about Krsna Maharaj, because they were very close friends. How because, not simply because of scholarship, but because of his humility and his surrender, he had such realization and understanding and the capacity to speak those realizations and understandings of Srimad Bhagavatam. And how practically throughout the year he was giving talks. And how he was just so humble. In each of his lectures, Radhe Shyam Prabhu was saying, he would always emphasize not finding faults with other devotees. And he shared with me an analogy. That finding faults with devotees and speaking them to others is like picking up stool and throwing it in people's faces. Is that a nice thing to do? Even if there is a fault, when we're talking about it to others, we're actually throwing stool on people. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if you do two things, I'll take you back to Godhead. Chant the names of Krishna and do not criticize others. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told one Brahmin who was very blasphemous of Vaishnavas. He says, when you speak the faults of a devotee, you're drinking poison that will kill your true spiritual propensities. But when you speak the virtues of the Vaishnavas, you're drinking nectar. And only nectar could counteract poison. So stop finding faults and seek the good qualities. And Radhesham Prabhu was telling, he simply never found faults with anyone, devotees. Like a good physician, he would speak the disease, point it out, what it is, and how to cure it. But no malice, no envy. And he was always cheerful. And from my own personal interactions with him, he just always wanted to take a humble position. Always wanted to appreciate others. In fact, I believe most nights of our yatra in Vrindavan, he was there. Even though he's such an incredibly learned scholar of Srimad Bhagavatam, he would just come to deeply take pleasure in hearing others. As Radhesham Prabhu was describing him, I was remembering Prabhupada's analogy that there's the book Bhagavatam and there's the person Bhagavatam. Just hearing about a devotee like this was non-different than a Srimad Bhagavatam class. Hearing about the qualities of a Vaishnava is Srimad Bhagavatam. He knew the Bhagavatam, he lived the Bhagavatam, he was the Bhagavatam, person Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada taught that by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and serving the person Bhagavatams, those who are actually who are living by these principles, Shushusho Shuddhadanasya Vasudeva Katatuchi Syanmahat Sevaya Vipra Pundya Tirutana Seva. See, we can have taste for reading novels. We can have taste for watching television or cinemas. We can have taste for different kinds of material music. We could have taste for scriptures too. We could have taste for Srimad Bhagavatam too. But when we're speaking about ruchi, real taste, true taste, that taste for hearing a Bhagavatam which is free of ego. I don't want to just learn so I can show people how much I know. I'm not trying to learn just to purify, or not purify, but just to somehow or other counteract all the bad things I do. Actually, ruchi. Shushusho Shuddhadanasya Vasudeva Katha Ruchi. That taste is when we really are beginning to experience and develop that experience of receiving Krishna's mercy that is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that comes by serving great personalities, by serving those who are living Srimad Bhagavatam or sincerely aspiring to live Srimad Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, before he began his kirtan, which is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, ultimately the culmination is the chanting of God's names, always remembering Krishna. he offered that beautiful prayer. Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayora Dasa Dasa Dasanudas, to be the servant of the servant of the servant. To value the Vaishnavas. So as our dear Radheshyam Prabhu is describing, he's known Gaur Krishna Maharaj for many years, but it's this quality that so much affected him. His taste for the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was so inseparable from his honor and his respect for the devotees, for his compassion to other beings. He was 50 years old, I was told. And he was in Vrindavan. And he seemed just fine. And suddenly, Krishna took him away. Prahlad Maharaj taught us that we shouldn't wait till we get old, because we might already be old. Nobody knows when this Atma, our true self, is going to be removed from this particular body and all the people and all the things associated with this body. It can happen to any of us at any moment. But we could always be safe by being in remembrance of Krishna. By living a life in which we are dear to Krishna. Trinadapi suniche nataror ibasahishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught this as a prerequisite for higher realizations. Humility, tolerance, forgiveness, and compassion. Tolerating difficulties without complaint. Humbling oneself before God and before all others. Offering all respect and not demanding or expecting it for oneself. Another example that I was given of Gaur Krishna Maharaj today is he was telling Radheshyam Prabhu that this particular new devotee has no respect for seniors. I'm the temple president, and he doesn't even bow down. What kind of etiquette is that? He's new and he doesn't bow down. And Gaur Krishna Maharaj said, that's a lack of etiquette. But far worse than that is you are expecting him to bow down. That's a serious disease. His disease is a small one. A little guidance can cure, but yours is a serious disease. You are expecting, demanding respect for yourself. What does it mean to be senior? Trinadapi sunichena. Gaur Krishna Maharaj was senior. He had those qualities. And therefore he could really nourish the hearts of others with those qualities. And at a time when absolutely no one in this world except Krishna expected for him to leave, he just was taken in the holy land of Vrindavan in the month of Kartik. So he is supremely fortunate. But we will miss him. Because whenever a sincere devotee is taken from this world, it's a great loss, not only for the devotional community, but for the whole planet. A sincere, humble, dedicated, compassionate devotee is so precious, such an empowered blessing within this age of Kali. Let us take a moment to offer our gratitude and our prayer. But Krishna has his way. When he takes a wonderful Vaishnava from the world, in many ways, the effect of that helps us to really recognize and appreciate who they are, who and what they represent. Because life is short, and it may be shorter than we think. But any moment of pure devotional service, sincere attempt for pure devotional service, is eternal. Krishna tells in Gita, any progress we make on this path is forever. It's never lost. So in the little time we have here, where there's so much conflict and so much suffering and so much violence and so much hate and so much greed and so much lust and so much envy, so much arrogance all over the world, in the name of God, in the name of science, in the name of economics. As devotees, we don't have time to get distracted by petty little differences that we may have with each other. We don't have time to get distracted from our real purpose by this punas charavata charavananam, just chewing on the same old things we've chewed on for millions of births. Sense of urgency, sense of sincerity. That sense of urgency and sincerity makes us humble and makes us joyful, and makes us instrument of empowering others with spiritual joy. That's what Lord Chaitanya's teachings have given us. We are just this evening bringing a closing chapter to our 2015 Vrindavan Yatra. We were trying over the last couple weeks to make some comparisons of Krishna's Leela and Lord Chaitanya's Leela. Krishna lived in Vrindavan for just about 10.5 years. But because Kamsa was in Mathura, and there was Shishupal and Jarasandha and Salva and Dantavakra and all these other asuras who were plaguing the world, Krishna left his beautiful eternal home of Vrindavan to go out in a spirit of real compassion to the world by removing these demoniac influences. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. Navadvip Dham is non-different than Vrindavan Dham. Vrindavan is Madhurya Dham. In the spiritual world, the Vaikunthas are places of pure unalloyed devotion. But Vrindavan is all of that plus sweetness. The sweetness of Krishna standing, Krishna not carrying his weapons as the God of all gods, but Krishna standing in the threefold bending form, Tribhanga, not decorated with the most costly jewels, but with a gunjamala, just simple little seeds that you could find almost anywhere in Vrindavan. And a Vajayanti Mala, a garland of wild flowers. And he's playing his flute to charm our hearts. And no one sees him as God. In Vrindavan, they see him as their lover, their friend, their child. They simply love Krishna. And when Garga Muni and others came and said that Krishna is actually God, whether he's God or not God, it doesn't mean anything to us. We just love him because he's Krishna. That is Madhurya Dham. And Krishna comes with the love of Sri Radha, the Mahabhav, to distribute her love to the world in Sri Navadvip Dham. It is Madhurya Dham plus Audarya Dham. All the sweetness of Vrindavan, but Navadvip and Lord Chaitanya's Leela is the magnanimity, the compassion to share the sweetness of Vrindavan with everyone and anyone, without concern for qualifications, disqualifications, nationality, race, social background, caste. All that's required is our sincerity, our willingness to humble ourselves and follow. And in this spirit, to take Lord Chaitanya, he left Navadvip for the same reason Krishna left Vrindavan. He took sannyas so that he could travel everywhere to show compassion, to remove demoniac influences, not with chakras, not with weapons. Lord Chaitanya killed the demoniac propensities in people's hearts with the holy names, especially this Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare. And as the people of Vrindavan were immersed in the deepest ecstasies of loved separation when Krishna was delivering the burden of the demonic influences in this world. Similarly, Sachi Devi, Yashoda Mai, Vishnu Priya Devi, the residents of Navadvip were plunged in an ocean of that same type of separation. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling through South India and traveling in bringing millions of people to come to Puri, removing that burden of ignorance with the Harinam Sankirtan movement. And he came to Vrindavan 500 years ago. On his way, he was giving ecstatic love, the perfection of yoga, the essence of all religions, to great scholars, to Brahmins like Sarvabhauma, to untouchables like Haridas, to deers and tigers and monkeys and insects and birds and trees and bushes. He was giving that same ecstatic love to everyone. And then he came to Vrindavan. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, a resident of Sri Radha Kund, he tells that when Lord Chaitanya, while living in Puri, even the remembrance of Vrindavan would increase his ecstatic love. And when he was on the pathways through Jarikhanda and other lands, knowing he was coming to Vrindavan, that ecstasy of love increased hundreds of times. When he came to Mathura, to the Vishram Ghat, that ecstasy of love increased 1,000 times. And when he was wandering through the 12 forests of Sri Braj Bhumi, that ecstatic love increased hundreds and thousands of times. After wandering through the 12 forests, so Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami only has a couple chapters, but he tells us that the 2 months that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were in Vrindavan, if Ananta Shesha, with his thousands of hoods, if Ananta Shesha were to write non-stop, even for the entire span of the universe in time, he could not even begin to explain the wonderful pastimes Lord Chaitanya did in one day while he was in Vrindavan. Kaviraj Goswami says, I'm only pointing in a direction for all of you. He lived at a Krura Ghat for some time. It was a secluded place. And in the early mornings, he would come to the bank of the Yamuna, to Dasvat Aditya Til. He would go to Keshi Ghat, to Chir Ghat, take his bath. And at Imlital, that ancient tamarind tree, which was standing from the time of Lord Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sit and chant the holy names throughout the morning, looking out at the beautiful river Yamuna into the beautiful forests of Sri Vrindavan. In the love of Sri Radha for Lord Krishna, his golden complexion would turn like that of a monsoon cloud. That was his absorption. After 2 months, because so many people were inviting Lord Chaitanya for prasad at their homes, the Brajavasis and the Brahmins and everyone. And Lord Chaitanya was going so deep into his ecstatic love that sometimes he would just fall in the river Yamuna, and the devotees had to find him. So for the pleasure of his devotees, he was willing to leave. For his compassion for all living beings, also he left Vrindavan, as he left Navadvip. And what did he do when he left Vrindavan? It's quite beautiful. From Vrindavan he went to Prayag. It was the month of January where the Magh Mela was happening. And on the banks of the rivers Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, for 10 days he instructed Rupa Goswami and empowered him. Lord Chaitanya later told the devotees, Rupa Goswami, although he had such knowledge, such intelligence, such influence, he was the most humble person. Completely surrendered. So I embraced Rupa Goswami at Prayag. And when I did so, I invested my own Shakti, my own devotion, my own love within him. And I empowered him to reveal my teachings to the world. And he sent Rupa Goswami to Vrindavan. And then after his 2 months in Vrindavan from Prayag, Lord Chaitanya went to Varanasi. And there the leader of the Mayavadis, who considered bhakti to be nothing but sentimentalism, who considers Krishna's form, Krishna's name, Krishna's abode, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna himself to ultimately be Maya, illusion. We will worship him, we will do puja for him, we will even say mantras of his names, to become one beyond him. Lord Chaitanya would not want to hear these things. For a devotee, this philosophy